put way too much thought into my walk-up music. So thank you, Jessica, for bringing that element to the table, and thank you all for having me today. As discussed, we're going to talk a little bit about what does it mean to strengthen, hire, what are you doing with your social media team? Should we all be wearing 28 hats? That's me on the photo right there, Andy Pondillo. I like to call myself the social media OG. I know that's not an official title, but basically looking through my history on this chart, it is a hot mess of experiences. Taking it back to 2010, I started off as a radio host, so career aspirations, broadcast journalism degree, I'm going to be the next Ryan Seacrest like all of us thought. Well, it didn't quite happen. Graduated, couldn't find full-time work, went into 2013, years before I found full-time work. You look at the history here, I did the pivot like a lot of us have done, where we went from doing something else into digital marketing, and then I kind of started to find myself. I took that big bet into the landscape of digital marketing, social media in 2015. Story I like to tell all the time. We go back to 2017. I'm unemployed, Andy. Andy hasn't made $50,000 a year. I'm about to move back in with my parents. I've given up on maybe myself at different points, didn't know what to do. Started to really try to find myself. I like to say that when I was unemployed, the 4 months were probably the 4 biggest months of my career, because I was able to step back, breathe a little bit, restart, and then start this journey again. So like a big notion that we talk about today, we're going to get back to this at the end, this is going to come full circle to our roots, is that the journey in digital marketing can be up, down, roundabout. You know, working at LinkedIn right now, super freaking cool. But 6 years ago, it was like, do I have an extra bedroom at my parents' house? Like, things can change quick in this industry, so don't ever underestimate what the power of doing spectacular marketing can do in taking some of the lessons we learned today. Fantastic conversations have been had. So, you know, we're talking a little bit about LinkedIn, some fantastic sessions happening today. AJ really going to dig deep into the LinkedIn sphere. I'm very excited for that. But what I wanted to do for this, when I heard that the theme was roots, I really wanted to explore my roots in the digital marketing realm, and that is as a social media manager. So what I've been able to see from 2010 to 2024, this evolution of social media. It used to be, hey, let's go sit in the back of the room and do some posts and take some pictures and say that we did it and throw darts at the wall. Now it's like, hey, can you get my CPL down 20%? So things have changed. It's big, big marketing. And we're trying to figure out now, how do we construct this team? How are we building a team that can win around us? And what are the steps to do so? You saw on the last slide, Bill Belichick. That's your CMO, your VP of marketing. He's running the show. But as we've seen in recent years, if you're a sports fan, how has Bill Belichick done without his team? How has he done without Tom Brady? So there's a lot of elements to this. People can be great themselves, but they can't be great as a team without the team aspect. So we're always trying to grow that. There's a lot of different ways to do so. So I'm going to start us off today with a poll on here. We got to have the crazy cat as one person. So I'm just curious, you know, when you're talking about your digital marketing team right now, whether you're a business owner, your team, is there anyone out here that's operating their social media and digital marketing themselves, doing everything? Okay, so YOLO, you're going hard. So what I want to do for you today is when we start to work through how we build this team, it could be internal, but it could also be seeking other help, whether it's freelance, whether it's agencies, whether it's skills you need to acquire. We're going to try to mix and match. Now, I'm going to take it to the other end of the spectrum. Is anyone lucky enough to be rolling with the 5+ person team right now? All right, so now you've got the resources, you're mastering it, but I've also seen with some large teams, duplication of resources to where are we diversifying the skill sets of what's needed to be on our team into what Roger talked about today, cost efficiency. So we're going to really focus in on getting the skills across your team. So if you are able to take everything internal, it prevents you from having to outsource a lot of things. So there's no really right or wrong way to do this, but I want to go through some different scenarios. Important statistics I want everybody to really hone in on right here, and we need to understand where the social media manager is at in 2024. 57% of social media managers, they're going to flip a job in 2 years. 29% of managers, they choose to leave their role within the year, and only 40% of social media managers think they have room to grow within your organization. That is a problem, and we need to solve this as an industry to where a social media manager comes in, their craft is seen as a large craft in the marketing room. They are your front lines of defense for PR, graphic design, paid ads, return on investment. Yet, when they want to become director of marketing, is there a clear path for them to go? More times than not, by these statistics, they're hopping jobs. So what I want to try to create today is that we make a situation where your digital social media management team, they want to grow within your company. And heck, if they leave in 3 or 4 years, that's 2 times as much as what we're seeing on these statistics right here. So just like the Patriots, sometimes they come in, they win a championship, and they go somewhere else and they get that bigger contract. That's okay, but we want to foster a team of welcoming, belonging, growth for our social media teams. Why could they potentially be leaving? Well, look at all the things we asked them to do. I got into this field as that radio guy, journalistic nature, let's go tell some stories, and that helped me in the OG days of social media. But times have changed. We now, in this performance marketing era of our social media eras tour, are all about cost per conversion, cost per lead, cost per whatever new metric is coming out, and we have to defend that all the time. And what do we have to learn to try to get our costs efficient? Copywriting, graphic design, PR, SEO, crisis management, just you name it, everything. So we're going to hear a lot of different concepts here today about things that we could be doing on our digital media channels, but you're probably sitting there, how in the heck am I going to do all of that myself? That's where the team comes in, and understanding how to assign roles to teams and kind of scale it from there. The way I think about 2024 social media teams are content creation and ROI. Do we have these 3 skill sets within our team that are natural fits for our professionals? If we don't, how are we filling those gaps? So we're going to go through some personas here and know that these are not exact. Like, I'm not telling you to go and find Sally or find the exact content specialist and say they can only do this role. But I want to go through kind of the skill sets we generally see on these teams. So Sally is a content specialist. Her background is in copywriting, community engagement. Her value when she walks into the door is she's going to be able to tell that story. We're thinking reels, we're thinking TikToks, we're thinking journalistic styled writing. She knows how to get a big brand and speak one-to-one to our users. That could come from somebody who has a background in this type of marketing sphere. It could come from someone that's mastered it on their own as a solo practitioner. There's no right or wrong. We should be open to finding our Sally, but when we think about content specialists, that is a pretty specific skill set. That typically comes from someone like myself who has more of that writing background. Are you asking those questions, or do you need someone like Sally, but then in your interview process, you're asking, what are your skills in Photoshop? Completely different mindsets, completely different skill sets, so we need to figure out who these assignments go to. Now, Mike, he's a creative specialist. He's going to be more of our Photoshop, Canva, influencer marketing. He's done work with influencers, building out their creatives, their craft. He knows all about vertical video and the design elements of it. He's going to really lead the look and feel of your brand. Now, necessarily, Mike, he might have some copywriting experience, but that isn't his background. So if you go in looking for your creative person, Mike's going to be your guy. Content without creative, does it work? It doesn't. We need to have both in our implementations. Now we're going to move to Jennifer. Paid social. Completely different world. If you told me in 2010 that this would be a multi-billion-dollar industry, I'd be like, hey, Andy, that hot tub time machine going back, I'd be like, you need to invent like some sort of paid social medium, or like go back and like invent Sprinkler or something. I'd be a millionaire right now. But we didn't know back then that it was going to become what it is now. So the new hot job in social is all about paid, paid, paid. Performance marketing. Now, performance marketing is great, but how many ads does everybody see here when they go to their feed and just like blasting through ad, 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 ad? How often do you stop at 50% off? How often do you stop at click here? Here's my ad. I want you to read this. Go to our blog. Click here. It's great. Our stuff is great. It's great. We really want you to be a customer. Click here. It's great. You don't click. So paid social experts, their expertise generally where they come from is more of like an analytical background. So we're thinking more marketing degrees. We're thinking they know how to run numbers, budget efficiencies, personas in platform. It takes a while to learn the intricacies of the in-platform of Meta, LinkedIn, whatever it might be. So Jennifer here knows that, but Jennifer might need someone on the team that needs that content creation, social media lens to really assist. One thing I see at LinkedIn all the time when I consult companies is I go in, I'd be like, who is running your content right now? And they're like, we have so-and-so that's placing ads. I said, do they control your content? Do they write your content? Do they create your content? They said, no, that's a separate team. Fair, like they're different skill sets. Then I'll ask, is that person on the meeting? It's like, no, they're in a whole other cost center. They live in a different state and they don't meet with each other. I'm like, huh? It's like, you can't do this without having the others. We need these to come together. They're different teams, they're different skill sets. So if we're thinking about agency partners, freelancers, whatever it might be, we have to figure out a way to construct the team. It is not on the team, the social media manager, to figure out how to construct that. It's on the leadership. So we think about Tom Brady, our director of marketing, Bill Belichick, our VP CMO. What did they do so well to bring championships to the table? They could construct teams year after year after year. We had mainstays. Tom, of course, is the big one. We have Vince Wilfork. We have the Randy Moss era. We had Julian Edelman. These were key pieces that come into their team, and they're successful for a stretch of a duration. There's other pieces that come in 2-3 years, and they help them get to a championship, and they move on to another team. Both can be okay, but these two know how to move the chess pieces around. We have to understand, too, as a social media manager that's coming in, especially early on in their careers, they want to come in and win that championship, but ideally, I feel like most of us at some point, whether it's 2, 5, 10 years, we're looking to scale our careers. So if I come to the Patriots, even if you're a winning team, and I don't get to play, like I'm freaking out of here in a year. So that's going to be important as we think about constructing our teams. We also don't want to be Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry to Jets fans out there. But if you just go out and get some experienced marketer and we're going to go, boom, flex tape, and try to seal the leaks that are coming from our marketing, and we're just going to get an experienced marketer and just throw them out there, that does not construct a team for you. The director of marketing, the VP of marketing are as good as the team they can construct. So think about that as you're building your vision for your team. Content, creation, ROI. Answer those 3 questions within your team, and if you can't hire, let's say 5+ people, think about who scales to these different areas. If there is a gap in any of these 3 sections right now, think about how you're filling it. It could be someone wearing a few more hats. Again, it could be some extra help, but those are the questions I would be asking right now as a director of marketing. So here's kind of just a takeaway as we send the slides over. Some of these I kind of left for you so you can go back and read them just as reminders. So this is the gap that we are trying to solve right now. So I would be remiss if we did this discussion, I didn't bring a little bit of LinkedIn to the table. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the products that are on LinkedIn that could be used right now if you are in marketing, director of marketing, marketing manager, solo practitioner, and you're looking to find some help for your brand. So with these, I want you to think about 3 things from this lens. I want you to master a LinkedIn career page. Job description clarity. We're not going to get too in-depth on this today, but we read job descriptions all the time for social media roles, and it's like I want you to do 4,000 different things, and then I read it, and I have no idea what the job is. So content, creation, ROI, what is the clear goal of this role? And when somebody gets in seat, Do they clearly know what their role is within the social media team? Does it blend into different things? What do they own? What is shared? Do they share responsibility with an outside vendor? All important questions to be asking. LinkedIn Recruiter is a wonderful tool to use, so you can prioritize this tool with candidates that are open to work. You can send messages straight to your candidates, and it's something where you can just kind of get on and find those people. I think kind of finding the social media talent and making connections naturally on LinkedIn, even if you're not hiring right now, you know that there's practitioners in your area, you know there's people that are just doing their thing right now on the platform. Start following them, and then just kind of keep a good basis, with what's going on. It's good to know who's in your industry, who's in your location, who's popping. There's some speakers here today, not to sound like too weird or anything, but I've been following them on LinkedIn for like 5 years. I'm like, hey, I'm pretty starstruck. It's pretty freaking cool to be on this stage. But those are things that I think about. Like, just be kind of in the pulse. LinkedIn Recruiter is a good tool to keep you on the pulse. LinkedIn career pages, this is going to help users find your company if they're looking for you. So you're going to be talking about compensation transparency, easy to find job opportunities, advancement opportunities, like who is your mission or your employer brand. So there's been a lot of discussion today about YouTube channels and showcasing yourself in a different lens and utilizing these digital tools. Those all fall into employer brand, is what we call it at LinkedIn. So these are ways that you can just kind of really emphasize, build a page, do your posts. If you're already doing this stuff, your LinkedIn career pages could be a nice option for you. And then finally, if you are trying to use a tactic that is the easiest, it doesn't require new products, new pages, new anything, just start following some hashtags. You'll find that you'll come across some really interesting people in your space, hashtag content marketing, hashtag social media, analytics, creative, you name it. You can follow hashtags on LinkedIn. I think it's a feature that we don't talk about quite a bit, but I've found it very interesting because it'll just populate a feed when you click the hashtag, or just when you go to your feed itself, it'll start populating as you scroll through. So you'll see people that are mastering this, but really look for what you're trying to find. Like if there's some sort of gap in your marketing right now, and you don't know where to go with it, you're trying to solve where that gap could be, let's say it again, content, creation, and ROI. You can find it by searching these hashtags, whether it's you trying to learn new perspectives or finding someone that can bring that to the table. So let's talk metrics. This is the largest question we have, whether it's a small business, whether it's a business with 15,000, 20,000 people. The largest conversation I have all the time when I do my consulting work is what should we be measuring and who's held to that measurement. I want to make this clear from my opinion, and this again is not baked in. I don't think there's a book to this right now, and then once you write a book, we're going to be rewriting it again in a year. My opinion is that ROI, when it comes to marketing, is held in the CMO to VP of marketing to director of marketing's hands. If you're a person wearing a lot of hats, you might be all three of those. If you are in leadership, it is your responsibility to put out a product, a strategy, and enable your team to have the ability to create ROI. Your team that manages the marketing, they might be trying to hit a leads total, an engagement total, a conversions total. They might be assisting in earned media. They can attribute to these metrics. They can be held to these. They can figure out a way to make them work. You notice I didn't say the words ROI in there. They are assisting you in ROI. As a leader, it is your responsibility to manage the return on investment. The number one reason in my experience why I've been pressured out of jobs, why I've lost sleep at night, why I've seen people leave, is we have someone that comes in, Andy, social media doesn't make money. Andy, the costs have gone up. Andy, this isn't working. Andy, we're going to pull the plug and not spend any more money, so your job's in danger. And I'm like, I'm doing the best I can, and we try to do the best we can. And as a team, we want to try to enable to fill those gaps. So if there is gaps, we're allowing our team a chance to succeed. So I want that to be super clear that a social media professional, digital media professional, They do have hard metrics they angle up against, but we don't want them to be in charge of ROI. So I have an important video I want to watch here, and then we are going to kind of wrap it from there. This is a video from Giannis in the NBA, an important speech that he gave after the playoffs of last season, and I think it's something we can all relate to in the professional world.
I just asked Bud the exact same question, but I'm curious for you. Do you view this season as a failure?
Oh my God. Okay, because I'm not that up. You asked me the same question last year, Eric. Okay. Do you get a promotion every year on your job? No, right? So every year you work is a failure. Yes or no? No. Every year you work towards something, towards a goal, right? Which is to get a promotion, to be able to take care of your family, to be able, I don't know, provide a house for them or take care of your parents. You work towards a goal. It's not a failure. It's steps to success. You know, and if you've never, I don't want to make it personal. So there's always steps to it. You know, Michael Jordan played 15 years, won 6 championships. The other 9 years was a failure? That's what you're telling me? No, I'm asking you a question. Yes or no? Okay, exactly. So why are you asking me that question? It's a wrong question. There's no failure in sports. You know, there's good days, bad days. Some days you are able to be successful, some days you're not. Some days it's your turn, some days it's not your turn. And that's what sports is about. You don't always win. Some other people's gonna win. And this year, somebody else is gonna win. Simple as that. We're gonna come back next year, try to be better, try to build good habits, try to play better, not have a 10-day stretch with playing bad basketball, you know, and hopefully we can win a championship. So 50 years from 1971 to 2021 that we didn't win a championship, it was 50 years of failures? No, it was not. It was steps to it, you know, and we were able to win one. Hopefully we can win another one. You know, sorry that I didn't want to make it personal, because you asked me the same question last year, and last year I was in the right mind space to answer the question back, but I remember it.
So what I love about that speech is it really hits on failure. Failure becomes a big topic of discussion all the time in marketing, and I feel like we have to be a little bit more free about talking about it. I think this was a great step today at this conference, going back to our roots. I feel like brings us to a different space, a different headspace. It opens conversation. It causes us to take away the titles and what's at hand and talk about this at scale. This slide right here I like to end with because it is the most important slide to me. And we talk about our mission and what I've had to do in my career. Like, you know, I've navigated mergers, departments being, fizzled out, being unemployed. Again, you know, the story I told at the beginning, like, am I moving back home in 6 years? Everything completely tapped in my bank account. And then I go back to this. It's like, do I keep pushing? Do I keep learning these 17 skill sets to keep going on? And I have. Like, I've adapted each time I've had to adapt. But what does that lead to up here? It's a mass amount of burnout we're experiencing in the marketing and social media community right now. We can't solve it. Not one person in here can solve this ourselves. But I do believe each of us have the power to be part of the solution within our groups and our communities to be able to outreach, to be able to talk to someone, to be able to ask if they're okay, to be able to help structure a team if you're a leader that could allow our professionals to succeed and have an open forum to be able to talk about things like burnout. The statistics in this world of performance marketing, in this world of pressure to get the job done, it's crippling a lot of the creativity that's in these rooms. And that's the biggest thing that I see sometimes when I consult is how can we get back to that creative element. So I challenge everyone here today as we close up, be sure to figure out a way to communicate with your team, find out what drives them, where they want to be in their careers, where are those gaps that maybe they're trying to solve, you're trying to solve, synergy. Think Tom Brady, Bill Belichick. Why were they so good? It wasn't because they looked out for themselves. It's because they used a chessboard to be able to build a team where players could come to the Patriots, be successful, whether it's for 10 years, for 2 years, there is not a player that goes to the Patriots during this run and says that, hey, I hated my time there. They all found something they were able to take. So I think about that through the mental health perspective. Please give me a follow if you'd like to see some more of this content. It's what I try to post a little bit on LinkedIn. And as I bounce around today, if you have any more just like LinkedIn related questions, I know we didn't go super hard into it today, but would be happy to answer. My specialty is really in the thought leadership and the ads sector of LinkedIn. So if you are dabbling into LinkedIn ads, AJ was the OG that kind of like taught me how to do it. So I've kind of like learned from him and adapted it, but that's what I do with my consulting work. So happy to help, and thank you all for having me today.
Awesome.